This is the Healing Roots podcast, where you will learn to heal yourself, break generational cycles, dispel societal norms, heal ancestral lines, tune yourself to emotional alignment, and live a happy, healthy, and holistic lifestyle without losing your culture. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. This is Lauren. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create peace and love in your life. It's a very important topic to me because I really just came across this revelation. I was meditating and my goddess candle crackled. And then I heard the idea for the podcast. And then I was like, I'm writing all of this down and I'm going to record it right now. Instead of doing another 20 minutes of meditation, first, I want to just tell you guys how grateful I am for you guys being here and coming to tune in every week to this podcast. And if you are new, oh my God, I'm so grateful for you finding us. Welcome. I hope that you receive all and everything that you need to hear today. And for the rest of you, thank you so much. I love you. And I am so grateful to be able to provide you guys with content that actually helps to improve your life and make you an even greater being than you already are. I know in the last episode, I updated you guys on a lot of things that are going on right now. I am working on my website. You'll be able to book readings there. If you are on my IG, I always have my reading shop. The link is in the bio if you would like to book a reading. On the website, I also sell crystals and I will be selling medicinal products because you guys know Yavish is a green witch and a herbalist. And right now I'm studying for holistic nutrition. So maybe in about a year's time, I'll also be offering holistic services. If you are interested, I want to do a spiritual life coach kind of thing, but also mixed with health coach. So you'll get health and spiritual well-being all at one time. To start this off, I drew 2 cards. Okay, I know I'm all over the place, but look, this is how I am. I'm a Gemini and my birthday is next week. Probably by the time y'all hear this, my birthday will have passed, but I'm really excited. I don't have anything planned, but I just have a feeling that I'm going to experience something I've never experienced. But okay, guys, so I drew 2 cards to start this session, and I never do that, but I was called to it today, and we got the King of Swords and the Death card. There's something that I want you guys to understand. This message today is not just about hearing what Lauren or Lo has to say. This podcast is about improving your life. And I hope that today you actually take what I say and put it into use. Because today we had the King of Swords. The King of Swords lets me know that a lot of you have been through a lot. And you are getting so good at being able to see the full picture of your life. You are able to see how to understand and see past the thorns of life and be able to appreciate the blossom of a rose. And that rose is your life. I think that a lot of the times it's a very mental battle. And we are really experiencing ourselves in ways that we wish we don't have to. But it's important because what we are understanding here at that time is how we deal with stress, traumas, situations that pain us, that hurt us, that put us in a bad place. And when we get to the King of Swords, we are able to use our logical brain to differentiate what is happening on the outside world, and as well as being able to see where we want to go and seeing how we can get there strategically, how to use our logic without it being used against us. So basically, this is about you being able to see the bigger picture. And then from seeing the bigger picture, not getting in your way with all of your context, but logically understanding where you are and where you want to go and how you want to get to the next place is very important. Then you have the Death card. And the Death card is all about change. And in this deck that I have, it's like the death card is whispering to this crying woman. And what I want you guys to know is even though we're going through a very large change right now, when you hear this podcast, you might have already started going through this change. And whenever you go through change, there is a lot of resistance because we have gotten used to the context that we currently live. And we have finally gotten to a stable place, but that stable place is not the best place. This place that you've gotten used to is just the tunnel on the highway to your destination. And even though on a hot summer day, it might be cooler, or it might just be a nice ride through the tunnel that makes you just have an awe for the architecture, whatever it is of your life that you're going through right now, even if it's happy and you're experiencing something, reveling in your greatness. Understand that the change that is coming for you will be even better than what you experience now. Where you will end at the end of this change, at the end of this new journey, this new page, this new book that you are opening in your life, it will change you. And not just any kind of change. This is the kind of change that makes you look back and think, I can't believe that I thought I would stay there, that I was willing to stay in that place. Then I'm so glad that I took that step, that I did not drag my feet to walk through the door of this new journey. And that is the greatest feeling on earth, you guys. So I'm about to show you how you can look through the hardship, the pain. You can look through all of the goodness of life and still have gratitude, still be happy, still understand that happiness comes from within and not from without. You don't have to have everything in the world to gain happiness, to have peace in your life, to be in a place where your mind is stable and your emotion are able to be regulated by the self and able to be questioned and understood, and your reactions to explicit the you that you wish to be, right? So the first thing you want to do is learning to accept and receive love. Now, I know you're probably thinking like, I do accept and receive love, but that's not what I mean. The point that I want to make about accepting love, because it was very specific in spirit. And I think that sometimes when trying to accept love, we usually deter it away, or we don't give ourselves enough gratitude as if we do not deserve to be loved. We do not deserve to be thanked. We don't deserve to receive that thing. But in all actuality, the way that we have lived our lives up until this point, in the context of whoever or whatever or situation that you will be receiving love from, we have gained karma through our right action, that we deserve to be shown that we are worthy of love. We deserve to receive love because we are of love and we are love. Also, I want you guys to understand the context of love that you are given. The reason why I bring this up is because both in the context of a situation and also understanding the context of the love we receive from the people that we love or the people that love us. Now, people love from their own vantage point. People love from a place of context, right? Because a lot of us want to be loved the way we want to be loved. But the problem is that love isn't common sense because it is only your sense. It is only your context. And so when you receive love from others, they love you in the way that they want to be loved. And you have to be able to see that. Because sometimes people will love us and they will do stuff for us out of love, but it doesn't feel like love because we are not taking into account their context of love. We are only taking into account ours. So I'll give a good example of that would be like, so my best friend, She is amazing, of course, but whenever me and her have a conversation, the way that she gives me love is by encouraging me, but also she keeps me to my word. And basically what that means is if I say I want to do a specific thing, she will hold me to it. And if no matter what that is, that could be in my relationship, in my business, in my self-expression, in my wardrobe, whatever it is, she will hold me accountable for it. And sometimes we hit a wall of resistance where I feel like I'm being judged and she feels like she's just loving me the way that she always has. And sometimes that love of receiving hits a wall of context for me because it goes against my context. I am a free-flowing being and my intentions change with the wind. And she keeps me in a place of remembering what my initial intention was. And I'll just be honest with you guys. My best friend is a savage when it comes to letting me know when I'm wrong. And she will rip into me sometimes. And we do it to each other because that is how our friendship works. But the thing is that I have to understand that in her context, she appreciates the person that I am. And she appreciates the person that I've become since we've been friends. We've been friends since college. She has seen me grow from a young, sheltered girl into a woman full of self-expression who is unafraid to show who I am to the world, which low-key kind of is a little bit ambitious. I have fear, but I think that she sees me as inspirational sometimes, and I see her as inspirational sometimes too. And I think that is the give and pull of our relationship. But in that context, I know that she sees me a certain way. And when she sees me deter from my truth, she is there to tell me that I am deterring from my truth in her own way. And that is her way of loving me. And I have to understand that when my friend speaks up about something, about me, about what I said I was going to do versus what I'm doing, I have to take a step back. I have to look at that place. What did I miss there? What could I have done better? And how could I have approached that thing better? Where did my ideologies change? And was it for the greater good or running away from something very important to me? And I have to make sure that I am staying in my authentic self because she knows that that is something that's very important to me. So the next point is about being grateful for the love that you're receiving. When people are giving you love and you understand their context, you can be grateful that they were in a place to even give you love, that they were in a place to even show you love, even if that love wasn't the best. Do you know what I mean? And even if it isn't ideal, when someone gives you the love, they are trying to tell you in their actions or words or situations that they love you, that they would do whatever it is for you because they are grateful to have you in their life. And it's very important that you understand that being grateful to them for loving you, even if it isn't ideal, that will encourage that relationship. Because no one wants to feel rejected when they are giving love. When you give your love freely, you don't care if it's given back to you. You just want it to be received. No one wants to be rejected. And when someone gives you love, it is imperative that you be grateful for their love, even if it's not what you want. Be grateful that they even thought to give it. The next point, though, is going to be very important. Be willing to communicate how you want to be loved to yourself and others. So what's really important about this is that a lot of people love within their context, like we talked about, and we have to be grateful that they're willing to love us and the love that they give us. But sometimes we have to assert boundaries and we have certain expectations of how we wish to be loved by other people and how we wish to, some people have a harsh way of bringing things to us. And that might not be the way that you can receive the love that they're giving you, but you can tell them, hey, it's hard for me to receive the love that you're giving me when you're giving it to me in a tone that makes me feel like you want to fight me. I love you and all, but if you're coming at me like you want to fight, then I'm going to fight you. You know what I mean? I'm on the defensive. I'm not in a place of receiving. What that will do, that honesty, it will create an opportunity for that person to look inside themselves and ask themselves, why do they do that? It'll also help. They'll probably make an effort not to do it, but it's very important at some point they will look inside themselves and ask why they do that, especially if you're the one asking. You also have to be able to give that person space to take time to adjust to these new boundaries, adjust to these new assertions that you have introduced to them. I feel like no matter how long this relationship has been going on, when you assert something new into an old dynamic, what happens is you're forcing the other person, or not really forcing, but you're putting in an expectation for that person to rise to a particular standard of love that you've created for yourself, because you expect you to love yourself that way. And the people closest to you, you want them to love you in a way that you can receive it wholeheartedly. And so by asserting these boundaries, that is exactly what you are doing, right? And so you have to be able to understand that sometimes the people around us have to grow in order to love us the way that we wish to be loved. And to do that, you also have to understand that the love in which you wish to receive is also the love that you have to give them by giving them space and compassion and understanding about where they are. I feel like this a little bit is a long game, because what you're doing is essentially you are telling someone, I wish to be treated this way, but you are also reprogramming the ideology that they have around who you are by telling them that you wish to be loved a certain way, because that changes the context of who you are. And it changes the context of a lot of your interactions and also your past interactions. And to understand that, you also have to understand that when you have to have patience for yourself, when you're unable to have compassion for yourself in a certain moment, when you're unable to do certain things when you want to and you judge yourself, in those moments, you have to forgive yourself for those things. And I think it goes the same when we're talking about others. We also have to show that same level of compassion, if not greater, and also that same level of patience and understanding of their own context and how that context clashes with yours. That doesn't mean that you're going to forfeit your own wants and needs. What you're doing is you're allowing them to fill the space that you have created for them. And yes, there will be times where you'll have to reassert those boundaries when people push it too far, or, it's too far for you. And you will have to reassert them. But we also need to give others the compassion and the willingness and the understanding that we understand that this is a process. Love and peace. So how I feel is that when you're trying to create peace in your life, this guy that I really love, I watch his YouTube videos and I listen to his podcast. He's just amazing. His podcast and his YouTube channel is called Hindsight, Hines or Hinez. I was just like, oh my gosh, and he says peace is a process. And so what I want you to understand is that when you're accepting love from others, and then you assert these boundaries, these expectations of how you want to receive love, you have to understand that to create this, it will be a process, because you are requiring someone to grow in a certain place, and that takes time. I'm going to move on to my next point, but I wanted to drive that home because this is like a brick house. We're about to lay down some bricks, okay? So the next thing I want to talk about is accepting others as they are for the individuals that they are. What I mean by that is you have to acknowledge that the people around you are their own person. You know what I mean? They're not just this particular title or this particular box that you have assigned to them in your life. They have their own life. They have their own box for you and several other people in their lives. And they affect a ton of other people beside you. And even though they might be a full character in your life, they are a main character in their own story, in their own way. And so you have to understand that each person that you deal with, they live their lives through their own context. And each one of their contexts is very different because each person grew up in a particular way. They got a particular amount of attention from their parents or guardians. They grew up very different from you or maybe similar to you, but there's still the context of the different people, the context of the people that they interacted with when they grew up, and the experiences that they had based on the clashing or melding of that context, and understanding that they live their lives through their own context and experiences that they've had. Now, what does this do for you? Why do you have to go the extra mile? It's not that you're being the bigger person. What this really helps you do, it helps you to differentiate yourself from other people. People may project onto you through their context, desires, defeats, failures, shortcomings, sadness and trauma, aspirations, success, etc., right? So they're going to give you the advice that they would give themselves, if that makes sense. So if you ever talk to someone and they're telling you that you're unable to do something, that you can't do it, that you'll never amount to anything, what they're really telling you is, I don't believe that I could do it if that were me. I don't believe that I could make it. I don't know that I have the drive. Like, they're telling you that they don't have confidence in that area. They're telling you that they may have experienced failure doing something similar to you or doing something in a similar vein. They're telling you their shortcomings, their weaknesses, their internal pain. And what they're trying to do is project that onto you in your situation. But what it's really doing, something that happens a lot with parental figures, is that they will project onto their kids, and their kids being full-bodied with life and aspirations, and they don't have as much context. They get that context from their parents. And sometimes their parents don't believe that they could do something because they weren't able to go for that dream or aspire to be whatever. And they tell their kids, like, going down that path will only bring you turmoil, when that's not really true. But now you as an individual have to grow up with that context. And what that does is it makes it harder and harder for you to become a self-actualized being, because you don't believe that happiness will come from doing the things that make you happy. And then it also gives you the understanding, accepting others as the individuals that they are also helps you to understand how they love, how they experience their attachment style of love. So basically, you can look this up, but your attachment styles are basically, are you a person that is very stable in your emotions and your ideologies and whatever it is that you believe in life and you feel? And when others don't validate that, you continue to stand in your own right. Are you someone who folds to other people's opinions? Or are you someone who will convince, like you are a convincer, basically, like you are able to spin it in such a way where people can see your point of view, almost like forcing them to see it though. I can't remember the exact attachment styles, but I do remember basically, you can either be someone who is giving love in a way where they want to see other people happy, but they sacrifice themselves for that. Kind of like people pleasing. Then you have people who just avoid love. And anytime someone gives them love, they just kind of like shoo it away. And then there are people who are kind of stable in their love environment. Now, I know there's several other ones. I just remember these because those were kind of the ones that I had to work on. But look up the attachment styles. When you become familiar with them, maybe I'll do a podcast on attachment styles, but when you get an understanding of the attachment styles, it'll help you because not only will you understand where you stand in your own attachment style, but you'll also be able to identify the people around you and their attachment style. You also will be able to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and it makes a lot more sense. It gives you a lot more context of how this person is the main character in their story. And you have to understand that the way that other people express themselves is not like a reflection onto you. The things you see other people do, whether you like or don't like, has nothing to do with you. You just applied your context to what you're seeing because that's how we experience our own reality. We are all beings experiencing on the same plane millions, billions of different realities because only through our eyes, through our specific context, can we see the world the way that we see it. There are very, very, very different realities happening simultaneously right next to each other, interacting with each other. And you have to understand that just because there's one experience doesn't mean that that has to be your experience. Create your own experience. So understanding the context of other people's experience will help you understand that if it's not a part of your experience, then you don't have to experience it. You don't have to subject yourself to that experience, if that makes sense. So my next point, my third point, is taking responsibility for all of your stuff. I did want to say other words, but really it's important that you take responsibility of the whole you, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the super ugly. The super ugly stashed away in the back under lock and key, ugly. The vulnerability, the trauma, the blow-ups, the expression of self. You have to take responsibility for you. And when you take responsibility for yourself, it helps you to be more accountable. It helps you to differentiate yourself from other people's contexts. It helps you to acknowledge your own resistance to things in your environment. And that resistance is a big key right there. When you start to notice your own resistance to things, like if someone's like, oh my God, let's go to karaoke, and they know that you can sing and they try to get you up onto the mic to sing and you won't, the resistance there. Why is it there? Why are you resistant to that thing? And the reason why these questions matter is because it gives you a pinpointed place where you can see where the shadow work needs to take place. Because the things that we see in everyday life that are expressed, we are able to then understand where context is functioning in our lives subconsciously and where we need to be more conscious in that area where that autopilot programming has a flaw and we need to fix it. This is something very important. When you're able to really acknowledge your own resistance, it's a big step. When you're taking responsibility for your own stuff, it gives you space to fill up your pocket. You have a pocket in this universe, in this world, in this reality that is all your own. And it's just your own. And even though this pocket is divided between multiple versions, parallel realities of you, there is just a pocket just for this version of you. This version of you that has experienced the world just as you have and only as you have. Fill up that space with all that you are. And even when you think you know who you are, you'll surprise yourself. Because when you have a specific amount of space and time to explore self, oh wow, you become even more of a beautiful being because you're able to fill that space and become authentically you. Authentically the person that you were made to be. Can you believe that? Yes. And it also gives you the space to stop taking on people's emotions, traits, characteristics, situations, etc. that don't belong to you. And that's something like when you're taking responsibility for your own stuff, it helps you differentiate yourself from someone else. Even spirits. I've been opening my medium channel of specific clairs that come to you naturally. You will kind of experience other people's experiences and think them your own, but they're really not. And there will be days where I will just feel a certain way. And it's very out of character for that feeling. And I have no context of that feeling. And that's what lets me know, like, okay, today, somewhere, I have interacted with more than likely a spirit or an energy of someone else that rubbed off on me, and I took it on as my own. And I have to go through my own self-care stuff to get rid of it because it does not belong to me. But if I was not in a place of taking responsibility for my own stuff, I wouldn't have been able to deduce down that this thing isn't coming from somewhere deep inside me. It was kind of insurgent and it was placed here, but it was not meant to stay here. And I have to let that go. It also gives you chances to investigate your own emotions, like I just said, and create a peace of mind. Because when you're not taking on things that people say, and people say a lot of stuff, but say, for example, like your friend is just annoyed at some guy and going on about how you just can't believe like this person would do A, B, C, D, and they would say something like this and blah, blah, blah. And as you're listening to them, you're understanding that some of the stuff that they're saying applies to you. Not that it's meant for you, but it does apply to you. And so when it does apply, that context you usually take home and then you're thinking about it and it rolls around in your head. And then there are adjacent thoughts that attach to that thought form. So now they're in your head. You have attracted these thought forms. Now you're continuing to go down this kind of rabbit hole. And until you get to a place where you feel like you want to talk to them or ask them, like, does it annoy them when you do A, B, and C? Because obviously them venting right now is not the right time because you took something personal that wasn't meant for you. And when you're able to differentiate yourself and create a peace of mind from other people's thought forms, what they think about you, what other people are saying about you, and know who you are for you. And the things that people say to you and about you, they hurt, but they don't hurt as much because you know who you are. And I think I can give you a prime example of that. Recently, I went to a family. It wasn't really a family reunion, but it was a family get together. A lot of my family came down from Detroit and a lot of other family came down from South Georgia to see the people from Detroit. So we all met up at a restaurant. And I remember specifically talking to one cousin. He was older, probably in his late 40s. We were just conversating. He was telling me how he almost got hit by a car and how his life flashed before him and this and that. And I'm a pretty low-key person when it comes to talking about my spirituality, but if you tinge on the topic, I will burst out into like full throttle, like witchy talk. I was telling him that, sometimes if you experience an intense emotion of something that could happen, but then it doesn't happen, that means that was a different version of you actually felt those emotions and experienced what you thought you were about to experience. And we as people have those all the time. And then he started asking me questions and then we were talking about it. And I'm like, yeah, I do readings and I'm working on my mediumship. So I learn a lot about parallel realities, life after life, stuff like that. I'm very interested in it. It's something that I do extensive research on. And maybe like a few weeks later, my grandmother, she watches my daughter and she was over the house and she was talking to me. And it just came by in passing conversation that this same cousin spoke to my grandmother and was like, I think that we should pray for her because she's doing evil stuff. And my grandmother stood up for me and said, she doesn't do anything that is evil. My granddaughter does things that help people move themselves forward. Her standing up for me and standing by me in that really warmed my heart. But it also hurt me, the fact that he would say something like that. And I took it as, This man wanted to know the information he asked me, but he was afraid to share it in a way that would cause him judgment in his context, because my grandmother is a preacher, been ordained for many, 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 many years and decades. He was afraid of her judgment of me and his interest in what I do. And he decided to apply that context in order to bring up what we had talked about. And if I hadn't been able to separate myself from that and to see the trueness of him and his experiences and why he would say something like that, even though I knew he was genuinely interested in what I wanted, I had to understand that not everyone is ready to be out of the closet when it comes to certain things. Not everyone is willing to put their most realistic self forward, or not most realistic self forward, but the understanding of it. When you're able to see other people's context by taking responsibility for your own stuff, you're able to understand how you walk through the world. You're also able to be a lot more flexible. You'll be able to flow through space, time, and your reality and through life with a lot less resistance and a lot less pain. And you're able to first deal with your own emotion and give yourself that compassion and that gratitude for being able to notice it, and give yourself the healing that you deserve. But then you're also able to see the context of how this came about from both perspectives, and you're able to speak about it in a way that the other person can hear you. I hope that makes sense. This helps you so much to develop as a whole being, because you're able to really see who you are, and you're able to understand the context, and you're able to deal with things as they come up, especially things that really hurt you, like really things that could fester and turn into a real trauma. You're able to deal with them as they come, and you're able to start that healing process immediately instead of years down the road or months down the road or weeks down the road. The more and more that you practice this, the more and more it will become apparent to you, and the less and less time it will take for your turnaround, your emotional turnaround, your situational turnaround. Even just having arguments will be completely different because you're able to see the context. You're able to figure out how to speak to someone the way that they need to be spoken to in order to hear what it is that you have to say. Then you start to notice your own shadows, and you're able to question yourself when you're acting out of character. That to me is like the ultimate benefit of taking responsibility for your own stuff. It really helps you in the moment of you acting out of your character, be able to see it, understand why. You understand why, and then you understand how you could have handled it differently for you to continue to be your authentic self even through this situation. And it helps you correct this situation in real time. And not after the fact, but in real time. That is something that is imperative when you're starting a journey of self-actualization, which is essentially what we're doing. In order for you to have peace, you have to have enough self-actualized tools in your belt and development and maturity of those skills that you use those tools for that will eventually get you to a place where you're able to really use it and use it well. So then the fourth point that I have is self-acceptance. Now, self-acceptance kind of sounds like the first one, but I think it's even more important because it's super important that you accept yourself where you are. You accept yourself for how you got there, and you accept yourself for the traumas and the pain and the turmoil and the greatness and the weakness and the strengths and the achievements and the success and the lack of there and the fear and the excitement and the happiness of who you are, of how you got there, how you got here, where you are right now. How did you get here listening to this? Anytime that you get to a particular place and you have to understand that this is where you are, it starts with receiving love and self-acceptance. Being able to give yourself love and being able to receive the love that you give to yourself. All right? And then what this does, it allows you to become your best version, because not only during this self-acceptance are you accepting who you are, but you're also accepting who you're becoming, and you're also accepting who you used to be. What this also does is it allows you the room to accept who you are, but not become complacent in who you are. And you're able to ask the questions that really, really matter. It also allows you to see the world through new eyes. And the reason why is because when you accept yourself, there's a lot that comes with that, okay? Like, it's not just like, I accept you. Yeah, it's like, I'm in my deepest, darkest moments and I'm angry at myself for being here, but I am here for you and I have compassion for you and I love you, and let me know whatever it is that I need to do to make this situation better. And I accept all the responsibility of the things that got me here. And I understand that maybe that wasn't the right way to express myself, or maybe that wasn't the right way to blow up in this situation, or maybe I should be the one to celebrate myself when no one else is there to do it. And there will come times where there is only you and no one else will be there for you. No one else will be there to make you feel like you are less than and shameful. There will be no one there to make you feel like you are the greatest person in the world on your successes, to congratulate you. And in those times, you must do it for yourself. And it's very important that you're able to accept yourself, accept how you were able to get to this point, and accept the work that either you have already put in or the work that you will have to put in to get to the place that you want to be. And it's really important, very, very, very important, that you give yourself compassion during these experiences as well. What else I wanted to say about this is it also allows you to create self-healing and self-love during this place, because basically what you're telling yourself is that I will love you no matter what you do, no matter where we are, no matter the context, no matter who we are. I will always love you. I will always support you. And no matter what anyone else says, I'll always be here for you. When everyone else is gone, it will just be me and you, myself and I. What I want you to understand is that there comes a time in your development of creating peace and happiness where you become your own best friend, where you do the things that make you feel happy just 'cause. When you don't care if the things that you wear, if the things that you like, if the music that you listen to will be socially accepted, or if it's on trend or in style. Who cares? Do I like it? Do I think I look good? Okay, then. That's all I need to know, because that is me being who I am, the truest version of me. And why should I change that for someone else looking at me through their own context when that doesn't apply to me? Self-acceptance gives you the opportunity to thrive to your heart's fullest content. Basically, what that means is you will become the person that all of these small little things that create happiness, create peace for you. You will become the person that embodies the you that you've become through your context, and also outside of your context. Even though everything is basically context, you will be able to thrive so much so that you will exude self and self-love and self-awareness inside of you. And even through your interactions with other people, you will be encouraging them to use the tools that you have and to create those same tools for themselves and do this stuff for themselves. We don't want to force it on the people, but if they're looking for it, you definitely should share. You feel me? And then from this point, understanding your own context and learning to break unnecessary molds and So the way that I understand this is just like self-house cleaning. And I will kind of explain how I do this. And it's basically like I will go into meditation and I will think of myself as if I'm going into my heart space. And inside of my heart space, I have a library of different rooms and different books of my life, different phases of my life, information that I have gained. And also I have a vault. Now, more recently, I have been renovating my vault. But I have a vault where I keep all of the things that are important to me. And I also keep all of my traumas, all of the things that I don't really want to deal with. And when I am learning and experiencing my self-acceptance that I have, what it really does for me is it allows me to break certain molds, break through certain trauma-based limitations that I have created for myself. And that comes from finding the root of the thing. It helps me to find the context of this thing. So say, for example, I'm dealing with the fact that I don't feel worthy, right? And so now that I've dealt with that root issue, there is a lot of contextual attachments to that root thing. Now that you've dealt with the root thing, it'll become more obvious. And then as they come up each time, that thing that makes you feel unworthy because of the way that you're thinking, the box that you put yourself in, or whatever it is, it starts to become more apparent and you're able to address it in a way where it's like case by case basis until at some point the population of these attachments decrease. And then you don't really experience that on a regular basis. So then when you start to experience it, you'll notice. And that's something that helps you break out of those modes. Basically, altogether, this will help you grow and it will help you have eye-opening experiences where you will see more of yourself, more of who you are. You'll experience more of who you are in yourself and what you do and how you do it. And what is good, bad, right, wrong, loving, or unloving about what you are doing. And understanding what effect it has on other people aside from their context, but just what you are doing. I have a good example of that. I went off on one of my friends because she touched a really touchy topic and we got into a really big argument and we fell out. And when I was at home by myself, I just could not understand. Like I was just so in my justification of it that she was in the wrong and I was in the right and this and that. And then I had to take a step back for a second and I was just like, we got into an argument and we both elevated and escalated that. We both poured energy into it. So why did I pour my energy into that? Even though that's not what I wanted, right? There were bits and pieces that were 100% me. And what I realized at the end of that was I was being defensive because I felt like she was attacking me. And normally, in any normal circumstance, I wouldn't have felt that. I would have just understood what she was saying, and I would have been able to differentiate myself, understand the context of our relationship, and just give her the attention and also the answer and like speaking to her logically about what it was that we were talking about. Instead of getting really, really defensive, getting to a place where I was acting completely out of character, I wasn't able to reel my anger back in. And the problem with that was earlier that day, which is ridiculous, earlier that day, I had an epiphany. I had an eye-opening experience about the relationship that I have with my mother. And it bottomed me out. Like I was crying profusely. I was hurt. I was angry. I was in a place of compassion. I was experiencing a lot of emotions, but I had a deep wound that I had unveiled and I needed to work on because I was in the middle of doing the shadow work on this thing. But because I had opened her up to something that was also just as sensitive to me, that when she started to talk about that thing, I, in my own context, gave her the response of the context that I had just learned about myself. I had expelled all of those emotions onto her and she didn't deserve that because that was something that was for me. That was something that I was supposed to deal with on my own. And even if I was to speak to her on it, I wish I could have brought it up in a different way because I did want to talk about it. And since I wasn't ready, I should have allowed myself not to be ready in general. I knew I wasn't ready. And then I invited her in to something that was very sensitive for me. And because I wasn't in the right mind state, I wasn't able to be that person that I usually am. I stepped outside of the person that I know myself to be because I was uncomfortable. And you won't be able to deduce those things. Mid-argument, I started to deduce this and I realized what it was. And I'm telling her, but I'm yelling. I'm like, I cannot give you what you're asking for because I'm too angry at this point. Maybe 5 minutes ago, but not right now. I am not there. But it's pointed and But I can say that even though that was a really painful argument, and having to be able to mend that was even more uncomfortable. I would say that what that did was it allowed me to see where I needed to work. And it also allowed me to see where growth needed to take place, but it also showed me how much I had grown. Because if that was me 2-3 years ago, I would have still felt like I was in the right. We may have not made up after that. But we did because I was able to see my wrong in it and I was able to apologize for that. I feel like when you're able to deduce down certain things, when you're able to be actualized enough to see where you are wrong and understand where you need growth, and that certain experiences happen to force you to grow. And I felt like at that time, I was being forced to understand that this wound was attached to things that I was unaware it was attached to. Because first of all, I had just discovered it that day, but I was vulnerable all day because I was thinking about it. My brain was all involved in trying to figure out how do I feel about this? Where exactly did this come from? How is it showing up in my life? I'm going to move on to the 5th point, and this one is being grateful for where you are and how you got there. And this is one I feel like that takes a lot of compassion if you're not in an ideal place. But if you have achieved a lot, it'll be a little bit easier. But the point of this is that you are able to be grateful even in the bad times. Even when things aren't working out the way you think, you are grateful that right now you are experiencing resistance so that you can grow. There is a place that you needed to grow. And the reason you needed to grow to that place is ultimately what's going to get you to the place that you want to be. You need to learn these lessons so that you can apply them in the future. And my dad used to say, if you don't learn the first time around, it'll keep coming back. When you just won't learn, it'll beat you over the head with it. I remember several times to just be life is beating you over the head because you're not listening. You're not learning from your experiences. And that's something that's super important. When you start to learn from your experiences and you start to correct the way that you walk through life, your life changes. Your experiences change. The person that you thought yourself to be, no longer. You grow. And you become better. And that's the point, right? What happens when you're able to be grateful for where you are and how you got there? I feel like you should probably write this down because these are going to be somewhat of a list of questions for you so that you'll be able to actually see where you are, how you got there, and how you can be grateful for that. And I guess how you can move forward for that as well. What have you discovered about yourself along the way? So really if you just sit down and answer that question, what have you discovered about yourself to this particular moment right now? What have you discovered about yourself in this journey up to this point so far? I can tell you that I have discovered I had resistance for being myself. And I realized that part of that came from a relationship that I had as a child that I didn't feel loved, but I didn't feel like I was loved the way I wanted to be loved. Not that I wasn't loved. And I realized that I was unable to see the context in which that person loved me because it was not within my context to understand the way that they love. I understood that I judged someone because of the way that they loved me, and I was unable to just assert to them the way I wanted to be loved. And when I was able to assert to them the way I wanted to be loved, our relationship changed and everything about it changed because I was able to see. And that's just one thing. But the thing that I realized is that that ideology of getting through that thought process, that is something that I was missing for a long time, right? So then just to give you guys examples so you can figure it out, but you should probably have like a very long list at this point. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? Relationships, food, experiences. What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about the world? What are some things that you hold inside of you that you were unaware that were there until you were aware that they were there? My next question is, what growing pains, lessons have you learned? So what growing pains or lessons have you learned? And this one can be a little tricky because some things we learn subconsciously, some things we learn through context, and some things we learn just straight out logically and we're able to like think about them. This question might take a few tries, but what lessons have you learned? And that could be something as small as learning how to tie your shoe, to learning how to use a particular program, or learning how to use an Adobe product, or learning how to edit, whatever. But then that also comes to, what are your life lessons? What are your growing pains? What are the things that you had to overcome to make you the person that you are today? Who were you in the past? And how did you become the you that you are now? I tend for myself to think of myself in 5-year spurts because I've only really lived for like 2 decades. So I do 5-year spurts. 1 to 5, what did I learn? 5 to 10, what did I learn? 10 to 15, what did I learn? 15 to 20, what did I learn? 20 to 25, what did I learn? And in a few years, it'll be 25 to 30, what did I learn? What you're really doing in these points is you're trying to see, what lessons did you learn? What lessons did you learn and didn't apply? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some things that you've been through, and you've been through the same thing several times because you did not pick up logically on the lesson. So you weren't looking out for it the next time around. And that's why it comes back around, because you haven't grasped the fullness of the lesson. But when you do this exercise, it kind of helps you look for it. So what are the gifts that you received along the way? So what are the gems that you've received so far in your life? What are the gem nuggets that interacting with people, interacting with yourself, interacting with experiences and situations and places, what have you learned? And what are the gifts that you've received from life? What are they? List them all down. A good one that I would say is gems. My dad is a very self-actualized person, I would say. He grew a lot over my childhood, and he was able to teach me so much. But my dad has this habit of being very metaphorical. And so the sayings that he has and the things that he says, they apply to many things at once. And you really don't understand the fullness of it until you have lived through an experience, or you're starting to experience, at which that message applies. I am so grateful for every gem that my dad gave me, because it has allowed me to walk through the world. And even though at a certain place I was very naive and I didn't understand the world, it allowed me to navigate it without putting myself through too much pain. And I felt like that was only because I would hear his voice in my head when I needed him, even if he was not there. There are times where your parents aren't going to be around. And there were times where my dad's voice came into my head and told me something, and I was able to redirect myself back into myself, if that makes sense. So that is definitely just like a whole bag of gems that I have received from my dad in my life. I also have that from several family members. My great grandmother taught me how to be a wife. And even though in today's context, that's not really valued, it was so valuable to me because I really wanted a family and I really wanted to understand how I could be happy having a family, how I could do the things that make me happy and have a happy life from what comes with being a woman, what comes with being a being that is able to create another being. I also want you to think about what are the traumas and the resistance that you have experienced along the way. So up until this point, what traumas, what resistance have you experienced along the way? What is the experience that brought you trauma? I feel like resistance would be like the manifestation of that trauma. Like if your mother neglected you and then now you're neglecting your partner, where you give them just enough love to stay around, but you can't understand why people don't stay. And then when you realize that you're treating your lovers just like your mother treated you. And it's like, so I have to fix that within myself before I'll be able to love someone in a way that they will feel loved. You don't have to go into full detail, but you do need to write enough that when you read it, it will jog your memory of the situation. And then write, where did it show up later in life? Where did it show up that showed you that you had that problem? And how did it show up? And if you're experiencing it now, how does it continue to show up? And then the last one is, how has this contributed to the person that you are today? And how can it make you even greater? Now, this question sums up all the answers of the questions that you previously answered. And basically, I'm just going to give you my spiel on it. I've answered a lot of these questions because I do a lot of self-actualization exercises. And at this point, I'm sick of them, but I still do them. I know that through all of the stuff that I've been through, I will never not go through those experiences if I could do it again. Why? I have been through some traumatic shit, but the reason why I would never undo what I have done to this point is because I understand that the person that I am now, the actualization that I have achieved, the emotional intelligence alone, I am able to see myself and I am able to love myself and I am able to laugh at myself. I am able to do things and feel no shame. I am able to grow and wake up and I am able to see myself in my daughter and I am able to empower her to be her own self, to understand who she is, to create that for herself. And I feel like for that, for the life that I have lived and the traumas that I have had, damn, I am grateful to even have experienced so much before I have even turned 25. And now that I am 26, well, I'm 26 next week, guys. So now that I'm 26, I feel all the gratefulness of the fact that I've come this far and I am able to see the gems. I am able to see the treasures that I brought along the way. And more recently, especially during COVID, I was forced to face all of the traumas. I was forced to face all of the things that I have yet to look at. I was forced to see where I was sabotaging myself because I didn't feel worthy enough of the things that I wanted because they weren't perfect, because I wasn't perfect. And I had to let go of that. I had to give love to myself and tell myself that my imperfection is perfection. Because right now, today, I am on a journey to become my best self. But there is no perfection vision except the one that I create that creates that bar of perfection. I am me. I have always been me. I will forever continue to be me and to learn who me is. And I am so grateful for that. And I never change anything about me because I am. And that is all. I want you guys to see what it is that makes you you so that you can appreciate it in full glory. So you can appreciate every crevice, every little tiny piece, every interest, every thought that makes you feel more like you and live it, breathe it, exude it, and encourage others to do the same. So, number 6 or 7, wake up to the fact that life is about finding your true self. Life is about experiencing every aspect of becoming that self. It's about helping others on that same journey to become themselves and finding your passion, purpose. I feel like that is damn sure a very important point here. When you wake up to the fact that life is about finding yourself, experiencing that self, become your greatest self, and helping other people do the same, and then finding your passion and purpose and doing it and your why. Don't forget your why. They talk about that all the time. Like, make sure you define your why. Then there's also the journey. The real journey begins when you go within. The journey happens within. Have you diven deep into the depths of your soul? Have you seen the wounds? Have you encouraged their healing? Have you thrown out the trash? Have you put everything in its place? How organized is your inside? Where are the deep, dark places that have no light? Can you take light there? Can you uncover the hidden within yourself? You are a great, righteous being, my friend. And I believe that today, if you haven't already, you will start to experience the fullness and the trueness of yourself. And if you want to share that self with me, please DM me on Instagram at _live like low. You guys, I want to know about how this stuff affects you. So, just to conclude this thing up, accepting and receiving love is so important to creating your peace. Because when you know that you are worthy of love, you can make other people feel the same by the way that you love them. And when you are able to accept love yourself, you are able to affirm to yourself that you are worthy of all things. And this is just the benefit of the way that you love yourself. The next point is accepting others for the individual that they are. When you see that other people have their own context and their own stories and their own life, and even though that's kind of obvious, when you really look at them as, I like to see myself as the Scarlet Witch. And I think about the other Avengers. And for a long time in the Avengers, the Scarlet Witch was just a foil character. But then you realize that she's really just the main character in her own story. In the Avengers, she was still learning how to become herself. So, can you see yourself as a main character and understand that these other characters have their own spin-off shows, the foil characters in your life? They have their own foil characters, their own overarching lessons to learn. And it's okay. It's okay. It's just you need to be able to differentiate yourself from their experiences because it's not really all about you, even though it is like the way that you see and experience the world. Because what you see in them is ultimately what you see in yourself. Also, taking responsibility for your stuff. Stop leaving your emotions and your trauma and stop blaming people for your decisions. Stop leaving it everywhere. Accumulate it up and see. If you don't want it, deal with it. And if you want it, treat it like you do. Love it. Care for it. Create a special place in your heart for that thing and treat it as such. Then there's self-acceptance, accepting yourself for all that you are, all the good, all the bad, all the ugly, all the beautiful, all the divinity, and all the darkness, because you are an accumulation of it all. And you are worthy of acceptance and you are worthy of love. And you giving yourself love isn't just about taking yourself to get a haircut or to get your nails done or to get your hair done or to buy yourself that new clothes or whatever is the new thing, right? It's about having compassion when you have road rage for the person who cut you off, having compassion for them to save your day. Having compassion for someone else to save your own energy because that is self-love. When you step outside yourself and giving yourself compassion for being in a different mindset and applying yourself back to that place where you wish stability and peace, understanding your context and where you will allow it to show up and where you feel like it does not have a place because it isn't about you. Taking responsibility for your shit is like super important. Don't forget it. And then self-acceptance. Be you, who you are, whoever you are, where you are, how you are, however you got there. And then dust off the grind. See who you are at your root. Because your roots hold all of your power. They are what bring you back in the spring, honey. Stop allowing yourself to die in certain places and not be revived. You are allowed to revive yourself. You are allowed to forgive and become you are meant to be. Don't ever feel like you have to prove that to anyone because you are already proving it by living here, standing here, being here, living here in your truth daily, minute, second, millisecond. Everything about you is itself. So be yourself. Be grateful, even for the small things. When you walk outside and you see it's a beautiful day, thank you. It's such a beautiful day. I'm grateful that I get to experience this. When you're driving down the street and every light turns green right before you get up on it, so you never have to stop, thank you. The universe is always guiding my way. Be grateful for your life and every moment. And even in the moments that doesn't feel like you should be grateful that you're able to even actualize that moment. Be grateful that you're even able to notice that you're acting out of character, to be able to notice that something is wrong and you can fix it. Be able to give yourself compassion for whatever happened today. Also, there's one more thing that I want to leave you with before I do our blessing. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be yourself. That in itself is perfection on another level. And the more that you become you will become more and more perfect as the divine. The divine has created you as a diamond in the rough. And life chips away at the excess to create something beautiful, something shining, something that reflects the light of the divine in every corner, every crevice, every mix of your life. Know that you are worthy of love, that you are loved by the divine, and such an infinite being is grateful for you being because it gets to experience you through you. In conclusion, because I want to wrap this up, so listen. We have concluded this podcast. Now is our time that I will be pouring into your cup. Pull out those cups. Pull them out. I know you have them. I want you to visualize in your mind your cup. Whether it is half empty, half full, see it. What does it look like, honey? Is it a glass? Is it plastic? Is it a chalice or a wine glass? What is it? I want you to imagine it in your mind. Now I want you to imagine you putting that cup under the waterfall that I am about to speak into you, okay? I want you to see it overflow. And I want you to understand that this overflow will flow out into your life, will flow out into the people that you love, into their cups. Because that is the only way that you fill a cup, my friend, from the overflow of your own. All right. You are a divine creation. You are loved in your own perfection. You are a diamond that has yet to see its true beauty. You are magnificent. And every day that you step out into your actualizing motions, you are even more vibrant than before. Your every day is inclusive of your peace. Peace is effortless for you. You are purely yourself. Don't ever feel like you need to be someone else because you are worthy of being the best version of you who could then become even greater than before. You need to hone that love that you have inside of yourself for yourself. Know that who you are and who you will become will be the greatness that will fill your heart and love. You will love yourself. You will be filled with love and you will exude and shine your brightest lights in your most divine way and purpose, because that is why you are here, to experience the chipping away at the excess, so that you can become your greatest, most powerful, most potent version of self. Know that every time that you work on yourself, you are becoming even greater than you were before. And I just have to let you in on a little secret here. You are worthy of all that you wish. Abundance flows to you without resistance. You are one with the divine, and the divine is one with you. And when you open your mouth and ask for something, the divine will grant it because it is already yours. Never think to yourself that you can't have, because it is already yours. What you should think is, how can I go get it? You are a powerful being with the ability to create your reality. Don't ever feel like you're too small, because you are just the right size for this lifetime. You are just the most perfect amount of atoms and energy right now. You are consciousness and its expression. You are divine creation and art. You are a song of the beautiful melody sung from the lungs of the divine. You are beautiful. You are intelligent, and you create all that you see. So make it what you want. Oh man, y'all. I am so grateful for you being alive today. I am so grateful for you becoming the best version of you every day, every minute, every second. You are fucking amazing, man. And I am so grateful that you even exist on this plane, that you even found this podcast. And I want you to know that every single day that you are on this earth, you affect every being that you step into alignment with, and that will rebuttal down infinitely through the ages, because who you are leaves a spark in each person, in each word that you speak, and it grows a seed of the divine right. You are meant to be here on this path. Don't ever take for granted your life, because you are great and you deserve greater. I believe in you. And you should believe in yourself. I give you all love, I give you all abundance, and I pour into you the energy in which you wish to direct on your own. Be yourself every day, the actualized being that you are. And I will say it once again, I am grateful for you being. I am grateful for you thriving. And I am grateful for you being here to listen to this podcast today. I hope that you walk through your life today feeling energized. God damn it. You are fucking amazing. Feel like it, be like it, exude it, because that's who you are. Don't allow anyone to tell you otherwise. I love you guys. Thank you listening to the podcast today. If you wish to reach out to me, let me know if this podcast has given you the things that you needed. Hit me up in my DMs on Instagram at _live, LIVE, like LIKE, low, LO, because I am here for you and I will encourage you to do even greater. If you wish to get a reading from me, my link will be in the bio of my Instagram as well as in the show notes. And I just want you guys to know that you can link up with me anytime to watch even shorter versions of this content on YouTube, on my channel, Live Like Low. I am here for you guys. I love you guys. And until the next time, be actualized. Feel that peace in your life and be even the most grateful. For those of you who are still here and made it to the end, I love you. And I hope that you receive one of the greatest blessings today that you've been attracting. I hope that everything that you wish is within order and that everything comes within the perfect timing for you. I love you. Be well.